trucking, got my chips cashed in. We're jamming, jamming, and I hope you like jamming too. Ain't no rules, ain't no vow, we can do it anyhow. I and I will see you through, 'cause every day we pay the price, we'll deliver sacrifice, jamming till the jam is through.
Well, welcome everyone. My name is James Burke. I am the Executive Director here at West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, and it's my distinct privilege and honor to welcome to our gallery lounge Kgw Wbpac, please. Photographer to musical icons across the generations, and we couldn't be happier to exhibit your work here at West Hampton Wbpac. Everyone from Jimi Hendrix to Bob Marley, Joni Mitchell, Jerry Garcia, Pink Floyd, and others. A lot of my personal favorites, and musicians who just exert such an influence on everyone who comes through the doors today. I'd be really curious just to kind of walk through some of the photos with you and find out how the genesis of your work and how you approach your subject matter.
I went to UCLA, majoring in motion pictures. Originally I wanted to be a camera operator for movies, but I didn't have any connections in the business, and I had been doing stills for a while just as a kid. And my teacher at UCLA was a legendary character named Bill Kirby. He used to take me to interviews. He would do interviews for the underground press, and he would take me along to take the photos. So the photos of Jimi Hendrix, the portrait of Jimi Hendrix, I shot when I was 20 years old, while I was still a student at UCLA. Then when he made his master's thesis film, it was basically a documentary covering the summer of 1967. And so we went up to Monterey, we photographed the Monterey Pop Festival, we photographed the celebration of the summer solstice in Golden Gate Park. We were guests of the Grateful Dead, and so we got to ride in on their truck at Golden Gate Park, and they were handing out cigars of Acapulco Gold, and it was an amazing experience. So then after I graduated, I started freelancing for the underground press, and there were a lot of little underground papers at the time, and one of the things we would do whenever an author or some significant person would come to town, they would do an interview for the press, and we would go to the Polo Lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel to photograph them. And that's when I photographed Andy Warhol and being interviewed. And Andy Warhol, I don't think, said a word during the entire interview. Sylvia Miles did all the talking. And I waited with the camera up to my face, focused on Andy, waiting for anything other than the expression that everyone always sees. And at one point, Sylvia Miles said something that amused him. And he got this little smile on his face. And that was my photo. I never wasted shots. I mean, I see people shooting digitally and they shoot hundreds of photos. I wait for my shots. So most of the photos you see are single photos. There aren't going to be 10 or 15 or 20 that are similar to it on a proof sheet. It's going to be the one photo that I waited for. Because I was poor. I couldn't afford a lot of film.
No, that's an amazing photo. It's a rare thing indeed to see
yes, Andy smiling.
Andy stepping out of character. And I should just mention briefly, because I didn't at the top of my comments, but when I first saw your photos of Hendrix, and I was made aware that those were taken at such a young age. This was brought to us by Wellington Fine Arts, our neighbors here in West Hampton Beach Village, and my thanks to Tom Selling for bringing your work to my attention. But I was very impressed by, the level of maturity in some of those that were very good
thank
shots.
you. Thank you. So I worked for the underground press for a while, and then I went to London, and I spent about a year in London. And I was freelancing, but occasionally I would do assignments for Time Out magazine, and I would attend various concerts. So I photographed Rod Stewart appearing at the Crystal Palace when he was with a group called Small Faces. And James Taylor and Carole King came to town, and I was in a Pink Floyd recording session. I got to hang out, photographing them recording. And then when the recording session was over, they said, "We're going to play soccer. You want to come?" So I went with them out to the soccer field. It was pouring rain, and it was Pink Floyd versus another rock group called Family. And I tried to do sports photography. I was useless at it, absolutely useless at it. So when the game was over, I said, okay, line up for team pictures, and they did. So I got a team picture of Pink Floyd with all of their roadies and girlfriends, and a picture of family with all their roadies and girlfriends. And then I went to the Isle of Wight, and Joni Mitchell appeared at the Isle of Wight. And when she first came out onto the stage, she was very serious. Her demeanor was very serious, and she sat down at the piano, and she started to play a song, and she stopped. And the crowd was being really rowdy, and I couldn't tell whether, because she looked like she was on the verge of tears, so I couldn't tell whether it was because the crowd was being rowdy or because something had happened backstage that upset her. But she stopped, you know, before that first song. She had gotten very far into the first song, and then she started to play something else, and the crowd settled down. And by the time she'd gotten into the song, the crowd was into it with her, and it turned out fine. But this was right at the very beginning, when she was just on the verge of tears and not sure that was the song she wanted to play.
So it's interesting that you're always kind of holding out for that one moment of connection.
I'm a fly on the wall artist. I'm there and I'm documenting what's happening. And photography is just light reflecting off surfaces. That's all photography is. But if you have the knack for waiting for the right moment, for making sure the light is right, but waiting for the right moment, sometimes you get a moment that actually reveals a person's personality, that reveals an emotion, and that takes it beyond simply light reflecting off the surface.